I did receive a mail from a lady, I can't remember her name now, but who asked me a little bit about if I could ask you a little bit about the not maybe spiritual topics in that sense, but I know that a lot of stuff that we do talk about here, of course, is very in a way is very much about the physical control of the controls, but also of course obviously about the psychological control. So it obviously goes beyond the physical. But I know that this particular lady was a little bit maybe not. I guess she felt a little bit, not hopeless, but maybe that she saw it that it was a side to all of this that we are talking about many of the problems that we see and discuss here, that there is another, side to it. And I don't know if you want to address this at all, or even, in that sense want to talk about it. But, I mean, do you get, if we were to talk about the response on your website, do you get in that sense, a positive response and that people are behind you, or do you think that they're resistant to the information, or how is the consensus in a way?
I think the ones who understand where I've been going with all this have also come through different stages by themselves to realize that even the whole spiritual side of things, not just in this age, but in all ages, has been given to the public and controlled, updated, you might say, just like a program of a computer.
Yeah.
There's certain realities that everyone knows, and all ages, all peoples, and that is that we sometimes know there's something else beyond us. We all get to that step.
Yeah. And
of course, that's what priesthoods in all ages have also known, that we have a yearning for something beyond all of this.
Yeah.
That once in a while, you feel maybe a little closer to, could be very transient experience. Generally when you're on your own, or it's quiet, or it's nighttime or something. But it's something that transcends all the worry and the induced worry, the controlled worry that we have in this planet.
Yeah.
However, the priesthoods in all ages have used all kinds of tricks through charlatans and dominated this need that humanity has to control the people rather than free the people.
Mm-hmm.
Anything which tells you that there's a fate, or it's written in the stars, or it's revelations, or it's God's will, that's the trick of predictive programming.
Yeah.
It makes you feel helpless, nothing you can do about it, it's the way it's going to be. And psychological warfare experts in all ages understand this technique. They even rehashed Nostradamus' prophecies of World War II for the Nazis, and they dropped leaflets all over Poland with slants on it predicting that, well, see, Nostradamus said it, so it's going to be, you've had it, you're going to be overrun.
Yeah, yeah.
To try and make the people give up psychologically. So a few people in all ages can go past all of that and see through it and have their own natural experience. I call it natural experiences, because anything that happens has to be natural.
Yeah, yeah.
Even what's called supernatural by others. But the problem today is we live in a scientific age where science has been able for a long time to mimic what people think of as spiritual experiences. Not only that, for instance, here's a good example. The New Age movement was funded from its inception in the West by mainly the MI6, the big foundations that work in conjunctions with MI6 and the CIA. And they promoted the whole New Age movement and the whole blending of what was seen to be Indian mysticism with Christianity. Now, even in the 1800s, Blavatsky and others were sent out to start the ball rolling in that direction. And she said herself that the object was eventually to blend science with the spirit. This crossing of science and spirit. So Nick Begich and other people have demonstrated the obsolete technology, the portable handheld remote-type devices that can insert a thought in a person's brain by line of sight. And you could be walking along the countryside and suddenly you'd have this eureka moment, or have a vision, or hear a voice, or hear God talking to you. And you'd believe it was God, because after all, what else could it be? And, of course, what we're found out, too, through declassified information, the funding of the big movements towards the New Age movement, with all their meditation schools in the West, many of them had this technology embedded in the walls. So people were having their meditation. They pay their money like good citizens in a capitalist system, and they expect results, and by golly, God talks to you.
You got it, yeah.
So they've been using what would seem to be the general public to be magical techniques, which are only scientific techniques, to try and simulate something which they know themselves is occasionally real to a few people down through the ages. Now, the other big problem is when you go into these areas, you'll find the bulk of the populace who haven't studied much in their lives. In fact, they haven't known reality in their own lives. They take things for granted. What they do accept is fear. They all feel fear or uncertainty of the economy or whatever the next fear is that's spouted by the media. They feel all that. And so fear tends to push them into looking for an escape route.
Of course.
So once again, in come the religionists or the New Agers movement to say, hey, nothing's real anyway. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. An old trick that was learned in India, because that was used in India for thousands of years to control the people. You could sit and watch your wife being slaughtered and your family being slaughtered. But if you've been trained that nothing is real, you'd sit there and smile as it was happening, and then they go round to killing you. Yeah,
that's a part of the caste system, I guess, in itself.
That too,
So
literally taught that nothing was really real, you know.
So what you're saying here in a way is that this is to help pacify people from actually going out and doing something about, what's rotten in the world, I guess.
Yeah, they don't even participate in changing what's happening, what they know is happening, or they find out is happening. They rather than participate in trying to make it better, or even deviate from the course that is planned, they'd rather go into complete escapism and not look at the express train that's coming up the tracks behind them. So that, again, is psychological warfare. Those people have already been mentally disarmed because they're not participating in this life. In ancient times, they would talk about the completed person. This used to be known even in early Christianity because it predated Christianity. But a completed person was the first Trinity. That was body, soul, and spirit, Trinity. And over years, soul somehow got blended with spirit until they became the same, and then it missed the mark. Because the whole idea of being here in the world in ancient times was for your soul, which did the seeking, that was the motivating factor, to find its own other part. That was the real soulmate. That was spirit. It was that which was really part of you but disconnected. And the person who sought, that was the old journey, was to seek it. And if it came towards you and joined, you were completed. That's where the term even genia or genius came from in the Greek. So you had a responsibility on earth that wasn't just to live, marry and have children or accumulate wealth or whatever. It was also to complete a journey. The soul in itself, it was said, this is what was believed, at least amongst the people, but the soul itself had no real personality. And if the person failed to complete the mission, then when they died, the soul just went back into the big soup mix, and it didn't gain anything. Nothing was retained. The whole idea of the ancient forms of perfection meant that the actual soul would do its journey through the person, through the body, mate with the spirit itself, which is pure understanding, and be complete. Once you were complete, after death, you would have knowledge. You would continue. If you didn't, the soul went back. There was no repetition. There was no you anymore. That's what it used to mean. So they had all these ancient debates in Babylon and different places about all of this.
Yeah.
It's written, if you understand the journeys of the Ka and the Ba in Egypt, what they really all mean, because there's always an esoteric side to things and an exoteric side for the bulk of the populace who would rather have ritual and people of same minds going through the same rituals with the same dogmas that makes people feel comfortable, where it was always the specific individual who went beyond that and understood the esoteric.
So
it's interesting that science today has tried to emulate all of those things which we called beforehand supernatural. And a lot of it has been accomplished already. They could, if an experience happens in your mind, and you see a vision or you hear a voice that's intelligible and makes sense to you, you could never be sure anymore if it's been induced through science, because they understand the language of the codings, again, the frequencies of both the visual cortex and the auditory, and they can create both, and that's declassified stuff. So now we're in trouble.
Now we're in trouble. I mean, in a way, obviously it does matter. So that's not my question here. But our experience here, I would attribute it to a spiritual journey. I guess our life on this planet at this moment, and in a way, at the moment at least, in kind of my overarching philosophy is that in a way I see that everything that actually happens on our planet and on this level is actually exactly it's the perfect thing in a way. It is exactly what we in a way deserve, and it's also exactly what we need to experience right now to actually move on or move beyond, because just as you say, if science is catching up with all of this, we definitely need to find something something even more real, or something even further beyond, or even more in contact with true spirituality. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, and even if you had true spirituality, even that has been so vastly overdone with the New Age movement that they expect a perfection, physical and every other way, a person who claims they have it, which has nothing to do with the reality or what it originally meant at all. That's why they put their funny robes on and put their noses in the air and put on a smile as if they know something. They really know nothing. This war really has been going on, they say, since the beginning of time. Now, time's a funny thing altogether. Time is only matter moving in space.
Yeah, it's even biological decay in a sense, you can say, or all decay. A form of movement.
And like everything in the language, there's a double meaning, because time is to emit. So time, in a sense, we always think of as something that is short or gone, or some abstract to come, and yet it's also to give out.